What's going on, everybody? Skylar Dean here, men's weight loss and fitness coach, and in today's video we are going to be going over the dumbbell row. Let's get into it. So the dumbbell row is one of those things that has a million different types of variations, right? There's the two-handed dumbbell row, there's the one-handed dumbbell row, there's every single angle possible that you could imagine. There's different grip sizes, different grip directions. And so in this video, we're really gonna keep it simple, and we're gonna focus both on the single arm dumbbell row and the bent over dumbbell row, which I like to call the statue row. It's the double arm. And so we're gonna talk about some mistakes that people make, as well as basically the cues to keep in mind to get the most out of this exercise. To make sure you're doing the form right, you're getting the most muscle activation, and you're not putting yourself at risk of injury. And so the benefits of this exercise, because we're using dumbbells, is we get this natural plane of motion that allows each individual side to work individually, rather than using a barbell where you would be using the same plane of motion and your hands would be locked in place. And so today we're really going to be going over both the single arm and the statue dumbbell row. The technique and the cues of these exercises are going to be the same. So we're gonna go over the technique first, and then we'll walk through each exercise. Now, as far as the variations here, if you are a complete beginner, it's probably a good idea to start with the supported one arm row. So that's basically gonna be in a supported position here, because once you get into the bent over two-hand dumbbell row, you're gonna have to activate your spine here, and you wanna make sure that you're not doing anything that's gonna put your spinal column at risk, right? You don't wanna be doing anything that could lead to potential injury, and especially if you're starting off and you're using more weight than you should be, and you're, jerking the exercise, you're definitely gonna put yourself in a position where you may get injured. So we really wanna focus on proper technique here. We really wanna focus on proper form, and of course, proper control. We want to make sure we're using a weight that we can fully control. So let's talk about a couple different cues. So really, when we're doing the row, I like to focus on 5 separate things that really make sure that everything is in position. Number 1 is going to be the tight core. Now, when you're doing the one arm dumbbell row, or even when you're doing the two arm, you have the ability here to bend up. You have the ability to bend your spine, and these are absolutely things that we want to avoid, right? With both of these exercises, whether we're using the one arm or we're using the two arm, we want to make sure that we have a straight spine. So when we're flat, we want a flat back. We don't want to be arching up. We don't want to be bending over. We also don't want our head to be pointing up, our head to be pointing down. We really want to make sure that whatever position we're in, we keep that flat back, we keep that spine straight, and that we're in a very safe and tight position. So keeping that core tight, keeping the back straight, and making sure that we aren't bending to try to muscle up the weight. Technique number 2 here is going to be staying in place. Now, there is a time and place for swinging the body, but what most guys do in the gym, especially if they're beginners, is they twist their body to get the weight up. And while that can benefit you in some areas, and we'll talk about that in a minute, when we're doing this exercise, we want to be locked into position. We don't want our spine to be twisting. We don't want to be swinging our entire body up. Same thing goes for the bent over. We want to be in a very specific position. The third strategy here that we really want to focus on is we want to retract our shoulder blade, and we want to make sure our shoulders stay down. So especially when people start working with heavier weight, what they tend to do is they tend to bring their shoulder to their ear. We want to make sure that we are staying down. And then the other thing is, before rowing, because what most people do is they'll stretch and then they'll row, we actually want to retract our shoulder blade before even pulling the row up. Meaning, if you were to picture a pencil in the middle of your spine, you would want to bring your shoulder blade up as if you were going to break that pencil, right? So before even rowing, instead of rowing from this position, even though it's a very small shift, you can see it, right? It's moving an inch or two, but you're still getting into a more proper position. So when you pull, you're now going to be activating the back at a much higher level. The third cue here is we really want to make sure that we are pulling with our elbow. Now, what most people tend to do, if they're basically trying to mimic other people who are doing the exercise, is their goal is to bring their hand and bring the weight up to their chest, right? To go like this. That is not the focus we want to have. This is a really good cue to get that mind-muscle connection, to make sure that you're connecting with your back and actually using it, is to pull up with your elbow. And what you'll find, especially with the one arm bent over row, is that instead of coming straight up, the weight is now traveling at a diagonal angle, right?
So rather than coming straight up and trying to pull the weight to your chest, now you're pulling the weight back, and in the process, again, you're gonna feel a much higher activation of the lat.
And then the final aspect of this strategy is once you have all those things in place, once you've pushed yourself and you've exhausted yourself, if you're looking to take it one step further, that's when you can add some cheat reps in. Now, cheat reps are gonna be very, very important here. With the one arm row, it's not gonna put you in a very vulnerable position, so it should be pretty safe, but you're allowed to swing a little bit, right? As long as you're still maintaining that activation, as long as you're still pulling with that elbow, you should be in a pretty good position to allow yourself to swing. With the statue row, however, if you're coming here, you wanna make sure you're not jerking the back, because again, that can put you in a very vulnerable position, which could injure your spine. So when you get to this point and you're fully exhausted the muscle, just use a little up and down, right? You're not jerking, you're not doing anything quick, just a little up and down to allow your muscles to get in some extra work. So those are the 5 cues there. We've got tight core, straight spine. We've got staying in place, not twisting until you really want to get those cheat reps in. We've got retracting your shoulder blades, keeping your shoulders away from your ear, also making sure that you're pinching that pencil with your shoulder blade. And that's something for you to reset after every single rep. And then number 4 is pulling with your elbow, and number 5 is cheating when needed. So let's kind of walk through these 2 exercises, right? The single arm and then the double bent over, keeping those cues in mind. So first is the single arm. Now you wanna make sure that your knee and your hand on the same side are on the bench, and then your foot is in a position where you feel very stable, right? Because you're only having 3 points of contact here. So whether that's far back for you, whether it's out, but obviously we don't want the knee to be in the range of motion of the dumbbell, so you're most likely gonna be out a little bit. Then next step, of course, so from here we wanna pick up the dumbbell, and just go through those cues, right? Tight core, shoulder blade in position. Before you row it up, retract that scapula, and then basically row. Now, I can even tell just because I'm so in my head, my knee was in the wrong position there. So we wanna reposition that. And if it helps, you can actually bring this knee in a little more. You just wanna make sure your back is flat. So obviously get in that position where you feel very stable, very safe. Pick up the dumbbell, tight core, shoulder blade retracted, pull up with the elbow, drop. Reset, tight core, shoulder blade retracted, pull up with the elbow. Shoulder blade retracted, pull up with the elbow. Shoulder blade retracted, pull up with the elbow. Now if I get to rep 8 and I'm just absolutely burnt, little swing is okay. And basically from this position, that's what you would just repeat on the other side, right? You can swing the dumbbell to the other side, or you can just turn around. Same position, hand, knee, leg out. Grab the dumbbell, tight core, shoulder blade retracted, row. Shoulder blade retracted, row. Retract, row. Retract, row. And then once it's time, cheat a couple. So there's your one arm. Statue row is gonna be the exact same thing. So you're gonna get in position. So I would pick the dumbbells up. Put your legs at about shoulder width. You don't want to go too wide or too thin here. And then you're going to bend over. Now what's important here is you're not coming completely parallel to the ground. You want to be up a little bit. Tight core, keeping that spine safe. Shoulder blade retracted, elbows up, down. Shoulder blade retracted, elbows up. Up, retract, row. All right guys, now with that alone, you're gonna see massive changes in overall activation of the muscle. You're gonna see a better pump, you're gonna feel more safe, you're gonna be at a lower risk for injury, and you're gonna allow yourself to really get some extra reps in with those healthy and safe cheats. So I recommend you get out and try this, right? Even if you're at home right now, pick up a bag, pick up something that you can to really practice on pulling that elbow and activating that lat. And the more you do it, the more you're gonna notice that awesome pump. So with that being said, I'm curious, do you have a favorite type of row? Let me know in the comments, but besides that, make sure to subscribe if you're looking for more awesome fitness content. And of course, as always, make sure to eat smart, move more, sleep deep, and be grateful for this moment. I'll see you in the next video.